Hello, Internet. I am Pastor Recoil, and welcome to my parish. Today is the second Sunday in Lent, and we're going to talk about it. Welcome to Pastor Recoil's Parish, where I talk about some things that you may not have heard about in church, either because it's not quite appropriate for all audiences, or it just isn't something that's easy to talk about in a sermon. Today's readings for the second Sunday in Lent are Genesis 12, 1 through 4a, Psalm 121, Romans 4, 1 through 5 and 13 through 17, and John 3, 1 through 17. Today we're going to talk about faith and works. This is a feisty issue in Christendom. The reminder that faith saves a person and not the things that they do was more than a little bit the thing that really kicked off the Protestant Reformation. Many Protestants still get twitchy about any suggestion that the things that humans do have any part in one's salvation. In my own context as a Lutheran pastor, many other Lutheran pastors I know have very strong responses to any suggestion that the things that we do have any effect on if or not we are saved. And in some ways, I understand where they're coming from. Paul writes about the faith of Abraham. If Abraham was justified by works, he has something to boast about, but not before God. For what does the scripture say? Abraham believed God, and it was reckoned to him as righteousness. Now, to one who works, wages are not reckoned as a gift, but as something due. But to one who does not work, but trusts in him who justifies the ungodly, such faith is reckoned as righteousness. Paul's making pretty clear that Abraham wasn't saved by the thing he did, but he was saved because he trusted in God. But Paul was writing to a specific group of people with a particular understanding of how humans and God related to each other. Paul's whole thing is reminding folk that it's not what humans do which can reconcile them to God, but only the action of Jesus on the cross which saves. So faith for Paul is the thing that saves a person, not the things that they do. But at the same time, the things a person does are absolutely the evidence of that saving faith. Going back to Paul's example of Abraham, in Genesis 12, Abraham is called by God to leave where he's living and to set out to a place he doesn't yet know. And he does. He went as God had told him to. He put his faith in God, and his actions were the proof of his faith. This is a lot of the point of the letter of James later in the Christian scriptures. James reminds Christians that though their faith saves them, the proof of their faith is in the things they do. If we actually have faith in God, our lives will reflect that, and we'll take care of widows and orphans, we'll feed and clothe the poor, and so on. But the reaction of too many Christians against works leads to a faith that at best doesn't do much. Jesus tells his disciples toward the end of John's gospel that the world will know who follows Jesus because of the way that they love one another. And yet, I'm sure we've all heard the saying by now, there's no hate like Christian love. Because the more that we Christians focus on what God does for us, the less we remember that God also calls us to live out our faith as a response to those things that God has done. Abraham's belief and trust in God was proved by his action in going where God told him to go. Our belief and trust in God also is proved by the ways that we love one another. What does it say about our faith if our love is received as hate? Probably that our faith is in the wrong thing, and our love isn't really love at all. So if you want to see more content like this, check out the links to my right, or click the logo below my face to subscribe so you'll know when my next video comes out. Thank you for watching, and take the time this week to love your neighbor as yourself, especially if you don't like them all that much.